Ching from Leave Your City in the comments below. It was a typical Tuesday morning when Sarah found herself sitting at her office desk, staring blankly at her computer screen. The soft hum of the fluorescent lights above was a constant reminder of the monotonous routine her life had become. She'd been running her own marketing firm for 5 years, and while she was proud of her accomplishments, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. Her husband, David, was the love of her life. They have been married for nearly a decade, and their bond had once been vibrant and full of excitement. However, as the years rolled on, the spark they once shared had dimmed, leaving her feeling lonely and disconnected. Their schedules rarely aligned, and their conversations often revolved around mundane topics, like bills and household chores. As she sipped her coffee, her gaze drifted to the doorway. That's when Ethan walked in, her new employee. He was in his late 20s, fresh out of a prestigious university, with an infectious enthusiasm that drew people in. Since he joined the team a few months ago, Sarah had admired his work ethic and creativity. But there was something more, something about the way he smiled that made her heart race. Over the next few weeks, Sarah found herself increasingly drawn to Ethan. They often worked late together, bouncing ideas off each other and sharing a laughter in the dim light of the office. He was passionate about his work, and his energy was contagious. In those moments, she felt alive, as if the weight of her responsibilities had lifted, if only for a little while. One evening, as they reviewed a marketing campaign, Ethan made a joke that had Sarah laughing harder than she had in years. Their eyes locked, and for a brief moment, the world around them faded. Sarah felt a flutter in her chest, a feeling she hadn't experienced in a long time. It was exhilarating yet terrifying. "Sarah, can I ask you something?" Ethan said, his tone suddenly serious. "Of course," she replied, trying to steady her racing heart. "Do you ever feel like we're just going through the motions in life? Like there's more out there for us?" He asked, his gaze earnest. Sarah paused, taken aback by his question. "Yes, I do. Sometimes I feel like I'm stuck in a rut," she admitted, surprised by her own honesty. Ethan nodded, a look of understanding crossing his face. "I think it's important to chase after what makes us happy. You know, life is too short." In that moment, Sarah realized how much she craved the connection and passion. Ethan spoke of it was a dangerous thought, but it lingered in her mind long after he left for the night. As weeks turned into months, the bond between Sarah and Ethan deepened. They shared personal stories, dreams, and fears. Sarah confided in him about her struggles with her marriage, and he listened intently, offering support and understanding. One evening, after a particularly stressful week, Sarah and Ethan decided to grab a drink at a nearby bar. It was supposed to be a casual outing, a way to unwind after work. But as the night progressed, the conversation flowed effortlessly, and the atmosphere became charged with unspoken tension. "Sarah, you're an incredible person. I admire how hard you work and how dedicated you are." Ethan said, his gaze locking onto hers. "Thank you, Ethan. That means a lot coming from you," she replied, feeling a warmth spread through her. Before she knew it, they were sitting closer together, their knees almost touching. The bar was alive with laughter and chatter. But in that moment, it felt as if they were the only two people in the world. "Can I be honest with you?" Ethan asked, his voice a low whisper. "Of course," she said, her heart pounding in her chest. "I've developed feelings for you, and I can't ignore them anymore." He confessed, his eyes searching hers for a reaction. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. She felt a rush of emotions, excitement, fear and guilt all swirling together. "Ethan, I don't know what to say," she stammered, her mind racing. "I know you're married and I respect that. But I can't pretend like this doesn't matter to me," he said, his expression earnest. The confession hung in the air, and Sarah felt her heart tugging in two different directions. On one hand, she felt an undeniable attraction to Ethan, a spark that had been missing from her life for so long. On the other hand, she was married to David, her partner, her confidant. As she drove home that night, Sarah's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. She loved David, but the connection she felt with Ethan was intoxicating. In the days that followed, she found it increasingly difficult to focus on her work. Ethan's confession lingered in her mind, and their interactions became charged with an unspoken tension. At home, David was oblivious to her internal struggle. He continued to be the supportive husband he had always been, but Sarah felt a growing distance between them. Their conversations had become surface level, and she yearned for the deep emotional connection they once shared. One evening, as they sat on the couch watching a movie, David reached for her hand. "You seem a bit distant lately. Is everything okay?" he asked. Concern etched on his face. "Yeah, I'm fine," she replied, forcing a smile. But inside, she felt a knot tightening in her stomach. How could she explain the turmoil she was experiencing without causing more pain? Weeks passed, and Sarah's feelings for Ethan only intensified. They found themselves stealing glances at each other during meetings, their chemistry undeniable. One evening, as they worked late, the air was thick with tension. "Sarah, can we talk?" Ethan said, his voice low, pulling her from her thoughts. "Sure," she replied, her heart racing as they stepped into the quiet break room. "I can't stop thinking about what I said the other night." He began, his expression serious. "I know this is complicated, but I want to explore this connection between us." Her heart pounded as she looked into his eyes, a mixture of excitement and fear coursing through her. "Ethan, I don't know if that's a good idea." "I'm married," she said, her voice shaky. "I understand. But what we have is real. I can feel it." He insisted, stepping closer. Before she could respond, he leaned in and kissed her gently. The moment their lips met, a rush of emotions flooded her senses. Desire, guilt, confusion. She kissed him back, her mind racing as she lost herself in the moment. This was what she had craved, what she'd been missing in her life. But as they pulled away, reality crashed back in. What had she just done? The days following the kiss were filled with turmoil. Sarah was consumed by guilt, yet the thrill of her connection with Ethan was intoxicating. She knew she had crossed a line, but the spark between them felt undeniable. They continued to work together, but now there was an unspoken tension that hung in the air. At home, Sarah felt the weight of her actions pressing down on her. David was blissfully unaware of the turmoil brewing within her. He continued to be the loving husband she had always known, but the guilt gnawed at her conscience. One evening, as they sat down for dinner, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of dread rising within her. David chatted about his day, sharing stories and laughter, but she felt like an imposter in her own life. "Are you okay, honey? You seem a bit off," David said, concern lacing his voice. "I'm fine, really," she replied, forcing a smile. But deep down, she knew she was anything but fine. Just when Sarah thought things couldn't get any more complicated, Ethan approached her at work one afternoon. "We need to talk," he said, his expression serious. "About what?" she asked, her heart racing. "I've been thinking about us. I can't keep pretending like nothing is happening between us," he said, his voice steady. "Ethan, this isn't just about us. I have a husband. I can't just walk away from my marriage," she replied, feeling overwhelmed. "I understand, but I can't ignore my feelings for you. I want to be with you, Sarah." He confessed, his gaze unwavering. Torn between her loyalty to David and her undeniable feelings for Ethan, Sarah felt trapped. "I don't know what to do," she admitted, her voice trembling. "Just think about it. I care about you, and I believe we could be something special," Ethan said, stepping back to give her space. As she watched him walk away, Sarah felt a rush of emotions: fear, excitement, and confusion. She knew she had to make a choice, but the stakes were higher than ever. The following days were filled with uncertainty. Sarah spent sleepless nights tossing and turning, her mind racing with thoughts of Ethan and David. The kiss had changed everything, and now she felt trapped between two worlds. Each morning, she forced herself to put on a brave face to continue her routine. But inside, she was a storm of conflicting emotions. At work, the atmosphere with Ethan was charged. They exchanged furtive glances during meetings, their chemistry palpable, but every time Sarah looked at him, she was reminded of the life she had built with David, the life that now felt fragile and tenuous. One evening, as she sat in her office contemplating her next move, the weight of her choices pressed heavily on her. She knew that she had to confront her feelings head-on. She picked up her phone and texted Ethan. "Can we talk tonight?" when Ethan replied with a simple yes. A rush of adrenaline coursed through her. This was it. She had to figure out what she truly wanted. That evening, Sarah met Ethan at a secluded cafe, the dim lighting creating an intimate atmosphere. She felt a mix of excitement and dread as she entered. Ethan was already there, his expression serious. As she sat across from him, the air thickened with unspoken words. "Thanks for coming," Ethan said, his voice steady. "I've been thinking about our last conversation." "Me too," Sarah replied, her heart racing. "I need to be honest about what's going on in my life. I have a husband who loves me, and I can't just throw that away." "I understand that, but I can't deny my feelings for you," he said, leaning forward. "What we have is real, Sarah. You can feel it too." "I do," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I can't just walk away from my marriage. David has done nothing wrong. He deserves better than this." Ethan's expression softened. "I get it, but what about you? What do you want?" Sarah took a deep breath, her mind racing. "I want to feel alive again. I want the excitement and passion we have. But I also don't want to hurt David. I'm so confused," she said, tears welling in her eyes. Ethan reached across the table, taking her hand. "You don't have to decide right now. Just know that I'm here for you." His touch sent a shiver down her spine, igniting a fire she had long thought extinguished. But as she looked into his eyes, she saw the potential for heartbreak, not just for herself, but for David as well. After their meeting, Sarah returned home, her emotions swirling. David was watching TV in the living room, blissfully unaware of the turmoil inside her. She felt a pain of guilt as she joined him on the couch. They settled into a comfortable silence, but Sarah felt like a stranger in her own home. "Hey, how was your day?" David asked, glancing over. "It was good, just busy," she replied, forcing a smile. Inside, she felt an annoying sense of deceit. "Do you want to watch something together?" he asked, his eyes lighting up with enthusiasm. "Sure, that sounds nice," she said, but her mind was elsewhere. As they sat together, Sarah felt the weight of her choices pressing down on her. She had to make a decision, and soon the following days were filled with introspection. Sarah found herself recalling the early days of her marriage. With David, the laughter, the love, the dreams they had shared. She remembered how they used to talk for hours, how they had built a life together based on trust and understanding. But she also recalled the growing distance between them, the late nights at work, the missed opportunities for connection. Was she chasing an illusion with Ethan? Or was there a genuine spark that could reignite the passion she craved? One night as she laid in bed, Sarah made a decision she would confront David about her feelings. It was time to be honest, not just with herself, but with him as well. The next evening, Sarah sat down with David after dinner, her heart pounding. "David, can we talk about something important?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Of course, what's on your mind?" he replied, his expression kind and concerned. "I've been feeling really lost lately, and I think it's time I share what's been going on." She began, her throat dry with anxiety. "Okay," he encouraged, leaning forward. "I've developed a connection with someone at work, Ethan. It started off as a friendship, but it's grown into something more complicated." She confessed, her heart racing. David's expression changed, pain flickering across his face. "What do you mean by complicated?" he asked, his voice steady but strained. "I kissed him," she admitted, tears streaming down her cheeks, "and I've been struggling with my feelings ever since." David sat back, shock etched on his features. "You kissed him? How could you do this to us, Sarah?" "I'm so sorry, David. I never wanted to hurt you. I was confused and feeling lost, and I didn't know how to handle it. I love you, but I was drawn to the excitement that I felt with him." She explained, her heart breaking for the pain she was causing. The silence that followed felt deafening. David's eyes were filled with hurt and disbelief. "I trusted you, Sarah. How could you betray me like this?" "I know, and I can't express how sorry I am." "I don't want to lose you," she pleaded, desperation creeping into her voice. "Do you still have feelings for him?" David asked, his voice strained. "I don't know," she admitted, feeling the weight of her choices. "I was drawn to him in a way I haven't felt in years. But I love you. You are my partner, my best friend." David looked away, his expression a mix of heartbreak and anger. "I need time to process this," he said quietly, standing up and walking out of the room. The days that followed were filled with a heavy silence. Sarah felt the emptiness of their home, the absence of laughter and connection. David had retreated into himself, and the love they had built together felt fragile and strained. She threw herself into work, trying to distract herself from the pain of their situation. Ethan reached out, but she couldn't bring herself to respond. The thrill of their connection faded as reality set in. She had to focus on repairing her marriage. One evening, as she sat in her office alone, the weight of her choices oppressed down on her. She knew she had to take responsibility for her actions and show David that she was committed to rebuilding their relationship. Sarah decided to seek help. She scheduled couples therapy, hoping it would provide a safe space for both her and David to express their feelings. When she shared the idea with him, he was hesitant but agreed to give it a try. Their first session was difficult. They sat across from each other, the therapist guiding them through their feelings. David shared his hurt, his sense of betrayal, and how deeply Sarah's actions had affected him. Sarah listened, her heart breaking as she realized the pain she had caused. "I want to make this work," Sarah said tearfully. "I want to rebuild what we had, but I know it's going to take time and effort." David looked at her, his eyes filled with sadness. "I want that too, but I need to know that I can trust you again." The therapy sessions became a turning point for them. They learned to communicate openly about their feelings, their desires, and their fears. Slowly, they began to rediscover the love that had brought them together in the first place. As the weeks passed, Sarah and David worked hard to heal their relationship. They took small steps like going on date nights and engaging in activities they once enjoyed together. It wasn't easy, but they were committed to putting in the effort. Sarah began to realize that the excitement she had craved could be found within her marriage. It was about rekindling the passion they had lost and being open to new experiences together. One evening, as they sat on their couch sharing a laughter over a movie, Sarah felt a warmth in her heart. She leaned over and kissed David softly, feeling the connection between them rekindle. "I'm so grateful for us," she said, her voice full of emotion. "I know we've been through a lot, but I believe we can come out stronger." David smiled, his eyes reflecting understanding and hope. "I believe that too, Sarah. We just have to keep working at it." Months later, Sarah and David found themselves in a much better place. They had rebuilt their trust and strengthened their bond. While the scars of the past remained, they had learned to navigate the complexities of their relationship with honesty and vulnerability. One day, as they walked hand in hand through a park, Sarah felt a sense of peace wash over her. She had faced her demons and emerged stronger, more in love with the man beside her than ever. As they stopped to admire the blooming flowers, Sarah realized that life was about the choices we make and the connections